After Xiaochu ascended to the throne, he granted me a title while bestowing all his affection upon Bai Chuchu. She is his white moonlight, the stepmother he ruthlessly acquired through the regicide of his sovereign and the slaughter of his kin. The noble women of the capital deem me unworthy, as the consorts of the imperial harem mock me for being the empress, yet failing to capture the emperor's heart. Yet, I merely smile and shake my head. She is but an object. Her worth lies solely in the emperor's favor. I have become the most esteemed woman in the world, no longer in need of my husband's affection. Main text. Within a month of Xiaochu's enthronement, war erupted in the north. With the national treasury depleted, he unleashed a tremendous fury upon the previous dynasty. I summoned the noble women of the capital and arranged a tea gathering. The atmosphere was filled with warmth and joy, yet not a trace of mirth graced my countenance. The assembly pondered aloud. With autumn's crispness in the air, why does the empress appear so troubled? I raised my teacup and sighed. The war in the north is dire. Every aspect, be it provisions, military supplies, or silver, demands expenditure. The emperor has been restless of late, and as a mere woman, I am of little help. I can only hope to reduce the expenses of the harem, which I consider my modest contribution. The late emperor was excessively extravagant. As soon as Chu ascended, he must address the mess left behind. The grand princess patted my hand. Good child, you have borne much. I am willing to donate 30,000 taels of gold to provide warm clothing and provisions for the soldiers at the border. Thank you, dear aunt. I nodded slightly, my gaze sweeping across the gathering. The empress and the royal princess were already contributing. How could we lag behind? I shall donate 10,000 taels of gold. I shall contribute 20,000 taels of silver. I own several medicinal herb shops. I will donate 10,000 taels of silver. Furthermore, I shall send 5 carts of medicinal herbs to the northern frontier. As the noble women eagerly expressed their intentions, Shirtsue hurried to my side. Your Highness, Bai Chuchu has arrived. Before she could finish, Bai Chuchu appeared in a flowing red gown, adorned with a headdress of gold and feathers, making her way towards us. Oh, with so many people here, why was I not summoned? The ladies present cautiously observed my expression. The royal princess's face visibly darkened. Yet Bai Chuchu seemed oblivious. Taking a seat beside me, I served the emperor last night and only managed to sleep after the early hours. He insisted I accompany him to listen to the battle reports, and I barely managed to refuse him. In an instant, the crowd looked at me with a mixture of sympathy. I could not hold back a laugh. I wonder by what right the young lady speaks to me? I emphasized the 3 words, young lady, leaving Bai Chuchu momentarily speechless. She was the favored concubine excion of the late emperor and the cherished white moonlight of Xiaoche. A few months prior, the emperor had passed away, leaving behind an edict that concubine excion should be buried with him. From that moment on, there was no longer a concubine excion in the harem, only Bai Chuchu, with a name and identity that had been changed. The ministers were well aware of the truth, yet none dared to shatter the illusion. While the emperor may have favored her, he had yet to bestow upon her an official title. To intrude upon a tea gathering in such a manner was indeed quite improper. Come. Remove her garments and fetch 2 proper maids from the Shinja bureau to teach this young lady the rules of decorum. You dare to touch me. I am a noble. And what are you? I rose, my voice rising a notch. Speak it aloud. She glanced around, biting her lip in frustration. I let out a cold laugh, issuing a firm command. Take this young lady to the Shinja bureau to learn the rules. She may only return when she understands her place. The fundraising goal had been accomplished, and there was no longer a need to continue the tea gathering. The noble women, having witnessed the spectacle, began to rise and take their leave. I dismissed the others, leaving only the royal princess and myself in the hall. The empress has gone to Qingsong Temple for meditation. She has avoided the controversies, yet has thrust you into the spotlight. I shook my head in resignation. The crown prince Xiaoche's infatuation with the illegitimate daughter of the Fan family was common knowledge in the capital. Yet, due to their disparate statuses, the empress had promised me to Xiaoche. In her despair, the Fan family's illegitimate daughter had been summoned to the palace as a concubine. Ever since my marriage to Xiaoche, the gossip in the capital had not ceased. They would say that I, the sole daughter of a distinguished general, had married into the Eastern Palace only to receive no affection, destined to guard the central palace alone, even if I were to become empress. On the day of our grand wedding, Xiaoche had made it clear to me that he had already given his heart to another. He could grant me a title, but I must never covet his love. Your Highness, Bai Chuchu has fainted. Her maid has gone to summon the emperor. Just as I had sent the royal princess away, Shirtsue hurried in with the news. I acknowledged her with a slight hum, my hand continuing to paint. As I finished the last stroke, the doors of the hall were kicked open with a loud bang. The palace attendants were startled and fell to their knees as Xiaoche strode in, making a beeline for me. What a display of authority, Empress. You punish someone without cause and still find time to paint. Xiaoche's expression was dark and foreboding, yet I remained unperturbed, placing the ledger I had compiled before him. The situation in the north is dire. I have been anxious day and night. Today, I specifically invited several noblewomen to discuss how we might contribute to the Great Xia. We have raised a total of 80,000 taels of gold. I hope your majesty will not look down upon it. His gaze faltered, the fury in his eyes dissipating significantly. You are most considerate. He then shifted his tone, however. You should not have allowed Chuchu to embarrass herself in front of everyone. Your majesty's admonition is warranted. I knelt before him, raising the freshly brewed tea above my head. Once I saw Xiaoche take a sip, I began to explain. When we were gathering donations, the young lady intruded unexpectedly. In front of all the ladies, not only was her attire ostentatious, but her identity remains obscured. Her sudden appearance would only invite scrutiny. To avoid further complications, I had no choice but to find an opportunity to have her escorted away. Xiaoche paused, instinctively defending her. Chuchu is innocent. She does not understand such intricacies. She has been cooped up in her palace, and it is unwise for her to remain hidden indefinitely. Have the Internal Affairs Bureau arrange for her. Her position remains unchanged. Your Majesty, I interrupted, noting his displeasure. Yet I pressed on. You have already given her the identity of the Fan family's illegitimate daughter. The legacy of concubine Xian is too conspicuous. It is truly unwise to elevate the young lady's status too high. If others were to discover that concubine Xian is indeed this young lady, it would tarnish her reputation and possibly incite trouble from those with ulterior motives. The emperor has just ascended to the throne. It is best to avoid unnecessary controversies. I suggest we grant her a title of Dang for now, and deliberate on her future status later. After a moment's contemplation, Xiaoche nodded. You are correct. I have been too hasty. He stepped forward to assist me in rising. You are indeed thoughtful. I knew I did not choose incorrectly in the past. Choi, you shall take charge of Chuchu's affairs. I turned my head away bashfully. I shall obey your command, and will not disappoint your majesty's trust. In the afternoon, Su Chonghui from the Internal Affairs Bureau came to report back from Fenghuan Palace. Upon learning of her status, Bai Chuchu was overjoyed and smashed the porcelain in Xinhuagong to smithereens. I played with the golden aureole that had just been delivered from the Internal Affairs Bureau, and Shirtsue stepped forward to hand him the reward money. Well done. Xinhuagong was the residence of the late emperor's favored concubine Xian. How dare she, as merely a Dang, destroy the relics of concubine Xian? Quickly prepare the Xian pavilion next to the cold palace for Bai Chuchu to move into. Remember, she is not to take a single item other than her necessary clothing. Yes, Shirtsue added. Your Highness, you may not know, but Xinhuagong was quite lively last night. Bai Chuchu refused to move, claiming you were envious of her favor with the emperor and deliberately denying her a high position. She even sent word to the emperor to intervene. The next morning as I arose, Shirtsue combed my hair while grumbling about the situation. I kept my eyes closed, feeling remarkably content. Let her choose, whether she wishes to be the concubine Xian buried with the late emperor or the emperor's Dang. Let her decide. Upon hearing this, Bai Chuchu finally ceased her protests. Before the emperor had even finished court, she obediently moved to Xian Pavilion with her entourage. When Shirtsue relayed this to me, her eyes sparkled with admiration. However, I knew Bai Chuchu would not let the matter rest. She harbored a deep-seated grudge against me, akin to her relentless struggle for the late emperor's favor as a means of exacting revenge upon the empress. As I had anticipated, Bai Chuchu's retaliation came swiftly. On the 1st and 15th of each month, the emperor was expected to spend the night in Fenghuan Palace. However, on the 15th of this month, I waited for an extended period, yet the emperor did not arrive. My patience waned, and I decided I could wait no longer. Shurtsue volunteered to investigate. After a stick of incense burned, Shurtsue returned. Your Highness, the emperor has gone to buy Chuchu's Tune Pavilion. I maintained my composure, nodding for preparations for the night to be made. Shurtsue, however, was indignant. Your Majesty, how can you not feel anger? She has already become the late emperor's woman. Yet she shamelessly approaches the emperor, adorned like a vixen. Miss, you should never have spared by Chuchu. Shurtsue, I reprimanded sharply, realizing she had spoken out of turn. She promptly knelt before me. 6 months prior, the emperor had discovered concubine Xian secretly meeting with Xiao Che. He intended to execute her in secret, but Xiao Che caught wind of it. The father and son had a fierce argument in the study, coinciding with my delivery of supper on the empress's orders. To my shock, I witnessed Xiao Che strike the emperor on the back of his head with an inkstone while the emperor turned away. Xiao Che was rendered utterly bewildered by fear, and I secretly facilitated his escape from the palace. I collaborated with the empress to erase all traces of his presence that fateful night and forged an imperial edict declaring the favored concubine Xian's burial alongside him, allowing her to remain by Xiao Che's side. From that moment forth, our relationship underwent a profound transformation. He no longer neglected me. Rather, he grew increasingly reliant upon me. We became akin to brothers, like sovereign and subject, though we hardly resembled a married couple. Remember, to have captivated 2 emperors is a testament to her prowess. The emperor favors her, so why must I engage in a life-and-death struggle against her? As long as she stirs no trouble, I willingly support her. After Bai Chuchu gained her official title, Xiao Che devoted himself solely to her for an entire month. She was promoted from a mere attendant to a favored concubine, then exceptionally elevated to the rank of noblewoman. In a short span, Bai Chuchu became the center of attention in the harem, repeatedly attempting to provoke me. However, the affairs of the palace kept me so occupied that I hardly had time to attend to her antics. It was only when the concubines came to pay their respects that I discerned their collective grievances. I realized it was time to take action. When the emperor planned yet another visit to Kaiyun Pavilion, I seized upon a convenient excuse to summon Xiao Che. It was indeed a stroke of fortune for Bai Guerin to win the emperor's favor. Yet, the harem operates like the court. Equilibrium must be maintained. Much like the Fan family, who had just contributed a copper mine, the emperor could not afford to slight the daughter of the Fan clan. Xiao Che's eyes brightened at the mention of the Fan family. Indeed, they are the maternal family of the late emperor's favored concubine Xian. I beckoned, and a graceful young maiden entered from the outer hall. I am Fan Lanin, your majesty, she greeted. Xiao Che's breath caught as he beheld her. The maiden, a mere 17, bore a striking resemblance to the youthful concubine Xian. Xiao Che, like an inexperienced youth, sought to charm Fan Lanin with daily displays of affection. Swiftly casting Bai Chuchu aside, Kaiyun Pavilion was devoid of exquisite porcelain, and Bai Guerin vented her frustrations upon the palace maids nearby. Thus, another fortnight passed. One day, while I was engaged with concubine Chun in organizing the Mid-Autumn Festival banquet, a little maidservant rushed to me, breathless. Your Highness, Bai Guerin has inexplicably struck our mistress. I hurried over to find that Lanin had already fainted. Her cheeks were swollen, and blood marred the corner of her mouth. Lanin's maid trembled with fury, kneeling and repeatedly bowing her head. Our mistress merely brushed past Bai Guerin, yet she accused her of stealing her pearl earrings. Your Majesty, please see the injustice. Our mistress is wronged. You must uphold her honor. I slammed my hand upon the tea table. The palace rules are strict. When did it become permissible for you to take matters into your own hands? Bai Chuchu, do you not know your crime?
Bai Shushu,
daintily wiping her hands with a handkerchief, did not even lift her gaze. What private punishment? The Empress is being overly dramatic. I have some acquaintance with the Fan matriarch. I merely guide her children. What crime is that? I had no intention of engaging her further and rose, issuing a stern decree. Bai Guerin, in contempt of palace regulations, is to be demoted to an attendant, her salary withheld for 1 year, and she is to be banished from Kaiyun Pavilion without summons. Bai Chuchu sprang to her feet. her indignation palpable. Jiang Qiui, how dare you? What is there that I do not dare? I retorted, advancing towards her. Her gown, woven from fine shoe silk, swept grandly before the assembly, and a smug smile curled her lips. I am already 3 months pregnant. I shall bear the Emperor's firstborn. Upon receiving news, Xiao Che arrived, and we exchanged a knowing glance. I keenly noted the fleeting fierceness in his eyes. It seemed this child could not be retained.
Bai Shushu.
Upon seeing Xiao Che, dashed into his embrace. He instinctively held her. You are with child. Why act so recklessly? Your Majesty, I am terrified. Did you not see the Empress's imposing demeanor? I merely chastised an ill-mannered maid, yet the Empress seeks to demote me and impose house arrest and a salary penalty. Tears welled at her eyes as she feigned distress. What if I frighten my unborn child? Can the Empress bear such responsibility? Your Majesty, Bai Guiran is with child. What could be more significant than the royal heir? At the Emperor's words, Bai Chuchu raised an eyebrow in triumph. Alas! She was too preoccupied with my apparent defeat to notice Xiao Che's icy countenance. I concealed my emotions and bowed respectfully. Congratulations, Your Majesty. This child is the firstborn after your ascension. I will ensure Bai Guiran's well-being, allowing no harm to come to her. Ultimately, Bai Chuchu faced no repercussions. Could her pregnancy absolve her from the consequences of her actions against me? Lanine trembled with rage, tears streaming like pearls on a broken string. I understood well that Xiao Che dotes on Bai Chuchu. Even if she were not with child, this matter would likely be swept under the rug. Do not weep. Focus on your health. I will safeguard you. Lanine gazed intently at me, yet I refrained from offering further words. Bai Chuchu shamelessly proclaimed her 3-month pregnancy. But Xiao Che had barely reigned for 3 months. This child's lineage was dubious. I could not believe Xiao Che would allow her to bear this child. Days turned into weeks, and Bai Chuchu's belly grew steadily. Xiao Che inundated Kaiyun Pavilion with gifts of the finest quality, but seldom spent the night there, preferring to take refuge in my Fenghuan Palace. Did the Emperor truly intend for her to deliver this child? As Xiao Che reclined upon my lap, I gently massaged his head. Bai Guiran's reckless actions have already drawn the ire of the court. The Rue Prince has dispatched agents to investigate the late Emperor's demise, and the Huai Prince watches closely from his residence. That child's lineage is uncertain. If she bears it, it would only bring calamity upon us. After a prolonged silence, one so lengthy I nearly assumed he had drifted to sleep, Xiao Che finally spoke. I have already made arrangements with the imperial physician. In a few months, that child will be no more. He sat upright, his gaze fixed upon me. Qiu Yi, once this matter passes, you must also hasten to bear a son. You know I place my utmost trust in you. Observe, though Xiao Che is willing to commit fratricide for her, when weighed against the throne, he still chooses for me, the solitary general of the state, to bear the legitimate heir. On a day when the capital was blanketed in heavy snow, Bai Chuchu arrived at Fenghuan Palace, her belly prominent. A month had passed, and wishing to avoid unnecessary strife, I sent Shursui to dismiss her. To my astonishment, she knelt outside Fenghuan Palace, crying out, Your Majesty, save me. Someone seeks to harm me. I implore you to intervene. My heart tightened. Had she sensed the Emperor's intentions? To avoid alarming her, I instructed Shursui to allow her entry. Bai Chuchu's face was ashen, her voice tinged with desperation. I have urgent matters to report. Please, Your Majesty, dismiss everyone else. I remained cautious, sending away the other maidservants while keeping Shursui by my side. Speak freely, I commanded. She glanced at Shursui, standing before me. Your Majesty, you truly do not trust me. I remained silent, regarding her with a cold stare. The Rue Prince's agents visited my palace yesterday. The late emperor was in good health. How could he suddenly fall into a coma overnight? The captain of the Imperial Guard, on duty that night, perished unexpectedly. And you have been frequenting the palace since then. Your father, the general of the state, has secretly returned to the capital. Let me guess, did the late emperor sense your family's treasonous intentions and take preemptive action? I inwardly scoffed. She was utterly ignorant, yet dared to threaten me. I signaled to Shursui, who discreetly departed. Do you have any evidence? As soon as the words left my lips, Bai Chuchu suddenly collapsed to the ground. I rushed to assist her, but she seized my throat with a vice-like grip. My breath faltered as I raised my foot and forcefully kicked her abdomen. Bai Chuchu fell to the ground, blood pooling beneath her skirts. Yet she laughed maniacally. I have no evidence. But if you dare harm my child, you shall face dire consequences. What of the Empress? You look down upon me. I shall see how you can maintain your position as Empress after you have caused the death of a Che's first child. Hearing the commotion, Shurtsue hurriedly called for the physician. An hour later, the physician emerged to deliver his verdict. The esteemed Lady Bai's constitution was inherently weak, her vitality and blood failing to sustain her pregnancy, resulting in the tragic loss of her child. I, as a humble servant, have exerted all efforts possible. Bai Chuchu lay upon her bed, her gaze vacant. After concluding discussions with his ministers, Xiao Che arrived late, and upon witnessing her state, his heart ached. You must take care to recuperate. You are still young, and we shall have children again. Unable to contain her sorrow, Bai Chuchu burst into tears. Clutching the sleeve of Xiao Che's robe, Your Majesty, our child is gone. The physician confirmed it was a male infant, fully formed. It was the Empress who harmed me. She bribed my maid to put safflower in my prenatal medicine. When I confronted her, she was unafraid and even kicked me in the abdomen. Standing behind Xiao Che, I refrained from defending myself. Xiao Che forcefully embraced her, murmuring words of comfort. The physician had examined her thoroughly, finding nothing amiss. The child's loss was merely an unfortunate accident, unrelated to the Empress. Bai Chuchu pushed him away, her eyes wide with disbelief. You do not believe me?
Aki.
Open your eyes and look. Her footprints are still on my gown. Xiao Che, who cherished her, wished to shield her from the harsh truth. Despite his attempts to persuade her, Bai Chuchu remained relentless, leading Xiao Che to lose his patience. How long do you intend to make a scene? You claim the Empress harmed you. I must ask, on a snowy day, why were you not quietly in your own palace, but instead running to Fenghuan Palace? You asserted your pregnancy was well, yet the physician found moxa in your Kaiyun pavilion. How do you explain that? I initially wished to spare you some dignity, yet you insist on making baseless accusations. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Che declared, Lady Bai, your excessive worry is evident. Return to Kaiyun Pavilion and rest for a few months. With that, he swept away, leaving Bai Chuchu to weep uncontrollably. Jiang Qiui, you have caused the death of my unborn child, and you take delight in it. She bit her lip, glaring fiercely at me. I couldn't help but smile at the ruby and vermilion bracelet adorning her wrist. You truly underestimate me. I have never harmed a child. If blame is to be assigned, it must be for your child's ill-timed arrival. Outside, the snow fell heavier, and I accepted the warming pot from Shurtsue, adjusting my fox fur coat. Observing Kaiyun Pavilion, I knew that the Ruiwang's people would soon approach her. Upon returning to the palace, I personally sent a letter to my father stationed in the south. Days passed, and soon, the pale pink apricot blossoms bloomed. The court began to stabilize, and affairs in the harem resumed their course. The period of national mourning had long since passed, and the harem had been quiet for some time. 3 of the 4 consort positions remained vacant, making it an opportune moment for the emperor to reopen the selection of maidens. Xiao Che remained silent, standing in the pavilion, lost in thought as he gazed towards Xinhua Palace. I skillfully redirected the conversation. 3 months had elapsed. Lady Bai should have realized her errors. The emperor might as well lift her house arrest, allowing her to move about. Xiao Che snapped back to reality and, after a moment, slowly replied, You may arrange it. That evening, not only did Xiao Che revoke Bai Chuchu's restrictions, but he also granted her favor in the pepper chamber. The two reconciled. And when Bai Chuchu came to my Fenghuan Palace to pay her respects, she wore a triumphant smile, though her eyes held a hint of provocation. Why has your majesty lost so much weight? Is it because the emperor has spent the last half-month in Fenghuan Palace, causing you distress? I do not take pride in favoritism. I advise the emperor to visit you, but he simply favors Kaiyun Pavilion, and I am powerless. Ignoring her, I caressed my abdomen. I have not had much appetite lately. Upon summoning the physician, I learned that I am already 2 months pregnant.
What?
You are with child. Bai Chuchu's smile faltered. I grinned at her. If it is good news, it is indeed double happiness. Yesterday, Lan Pin was also diagnosed with a pregnancy. And soon the harem will be bustling with activity. Lady Bai must act swiftly. News of my pregnancy reached the court, bringing great joy to Xiao Che, who issued decrees to reward the 6 palaces generously. After court, he rushed to Fenghuan Palace, taking my hand, his eyes brimming with delight. I have finally secured a legitimate heir. Your Majesty should not rejoice too soon. I gently withdrew my hand. Rui Wang has just taken the daughter of a wealthy merchant from Jiangnan as a concubine. It is said her family is in the grain business, and she has a younger brother who will participate in the imperial examinations next year.
Xiao Che's smile faded.
His expression growing impatient. Chiui, you know Chu is envious. She does not like me having too many women. I turned, my gaze sharp. The Jiangnan merchant provides gold and silver. Her brother is entering the court, and Rui Wang's father once served as an official. Rui Wang has begun to scheme. If you wish to win over the court officials, you must initiate the selection. Aside from the father of Qin Fei, who is a deputy censor, and Lan Yin's brother, who is the governor of Zhili, the rest of the families are of lesser status. Ultimately, Xiao Che consented to reopen the selection. 2 months later, the newcomers entered the palace. After meticulously selecting the legitimate daughters of the Grand Scholar of Wenhua Hall, the legitimate second daughter of the governor of Liangguang, and the illegitimate daughter of the military commander, they were included among the 4 consort positions. Having arranged everything, I entrusted the harem affairs to Qin Fei and prepared to await my delivery. During this period, Bai Chu was not idle. She either vied for Xiao Che's affection with the newcomers or quarreled with him. Unaware of the sacrifices Xiao Che had made for her, she believed he had grown tired of her and betrayed their bond, while Xiao Che was frustrated by her lack of understanding. Having invested so much in her, why could she not consider the bigger picture? Their relationship gradually eroded through repeated arguments and reconciliations. A year passed, and I successfully gave birth to a legitimate son. Xiao Che held the swaddled child, brimming with excitement, and immediately bestowed upon him the name Jingyao. Qin Fei returned the harem affairs to me. Bai Chu had nearly caused Lan Pin to miscarry and had been confined to Kaiyun Pavilion for 2 months. There was one more matter I was uncertain how to disclose. Qin Fei subtly gestured, and I dismissed the others, prompting her to whisper, "My father recently apprehended a ruffian who claimed his sister served a noble lady in the palace. He was supposed to receive 30 lashes. But guess what happened?"
"What?"
Intrigued, I leaned in as Qin Fei spoke more mysteriously. That very night, he was taken from prison by someone, a tailor shop owner. And most importantly, that shop is part of Rui Wang's dowry. After hearing this, I conducted a discreet investigation. Qin Fei leisurely sipped her tea. That ruffian sister is indeed within. Before she could finish, an announcement came from outside. The emperor has arrived. After discussing matters with his ministers, Xiao Che came to visit Yair. Exchanging glances with Qin Fei, we understood each other, without words. Xiao Che joined me for lunch in Fenghuan Palace and suddenly broached the topic of establishing an heir. Lan Pin would soon give birth as well. With so many women in the harem, to avoid unnecessary discord, I wished to establish the heir as soon as possible. The date is set for our Yang's full moon celebration. What does the Empress think? I lowered my eyes, suddenly recalling the night I had just given birth to Yair. An informant from Kaiyun Pavilion had come to report, "Your Highness, I am certain that Xiangjin is in league with Rui Wang. She and Bai Chu have been conspiring lately. I feigned ignorance and stumbled upon them, but they are highly vigilant. However, I overheard snippets regarding the Jiang family rebellion and a plan to capture everyone." After finishing, the maid closed her eyes and knelt before me, as if determined to face certain death. "Understood. You have not been here tonight. Return and continue your duties diligently." This foolish Bai Chu sold out yet still counting others' money. She believed this would ensnare me, unaware it was her own demise. They sought an opportunity, and I would provide one. The full moon banquet for Yair was scheduled for the Mid-Autumn Festival, and Xiao Che invited all the officials to attend. Aside from the Huai Wang, who is not in the capital, I sent invitations to the eldest princess and Rui Wang. On that mid-autumn night, with the moon hanging high, I held Yair, receiving the congratulations of the officials. Released from confinement, Bai Chu sat in a corner, Her eyes filled with resentment as she fixated on the child in my arms. Her cup of wine filled again and again. Xiao Che raised his wine cup, his gaze sweeping over the assembly. The Empress has borne me a legitimate son. My heart is greatly comforted. On this auspicious occasion of the Mid-Autumn Festival, we are also graced with a joyous celebration of the Crown Prince's first full moon. The matter of establishing the Crown Prince should no longer be delayed. A eunuch beside Xiao Che stepped forward and unfurled the bright yellow edict in his hands. By the will of heaven, the Emperor decrees, the Crown Prince Jing Yao is endowed with exceptional talent and of pure lineage. To solidify the foundation of the nation, to extend the dragon's veins, and to pacify the realm, I hereby issue this decree to confer the title of Crown Prince. Before the eunuch could finish his proclamation, the cup in Rui Wang's hand shattered on the ground, and Bai Chu abruptly stood up. Your Majesty, the Jiang family harbors ambitions. You must not designate her child as the Crown Prince. The mirth in Xiao Che's eyes vanished, and he tightened his grip on the wine cup. Lady Bai, you have had too much to drink. It is best you retire for the evening. A maid from the princess's side rushed to assist her, but was forcefully pushed aside. I am not drunk. I am here to expose this woman's scheme. Bai Chu swayed as she made her way to the center of the grand hall. I wish to accuse the Empress Jiang Qiui and General Jiang Zhen of plotting against the late emperor, intending to rebel. You are all unaware, but the late emperor did not die of illness. He was murdered by Jiang Qiui and her daughter. The hall fell into a profound silence. Rui Wang tilted his head, intrigued by the unfolding drama. I chuckled lightly. How does Lady Bai know such intimate details? Could it be that you held a deep affection for the late emperor, and he entrusted you with a dream? Bai Chu clenched her fists, her desire to tear me apart palpable. What nonsense you speak! I have a witness. She saw with her own eyes that it was Jiang Qiui who killed the late emperor. Xiao Che slammed the cup down onto the ground. That is enough. Lady Bai, to slander the Empress and frame the loyal is a crime deserving of death. Guards, take her to the cold palace. Several eunuchs advanced to escort her away, but Bai Chu glared fiercely, her voice hoarse as she shouted, Che, what I say is the truth. You must believe me. It was she who killed the late emperor. At that moment, Rui Wang suddenly stood up. Your Highness, why the haste? Lady Bai claims to have evidence. Let us see it. If the evidence is false, let her be punished for slandering the emperor and framing the loyal, thereby restoring the Empress and General's reputation and serving as a warning to others. A flicker of panic crossed Xiao Che's eyes as I stepped forward, gripping her hand tightly. In that fleeting moment of connection, I imperceptibly nodded. Xiao Che inhaled deeply, his demeanor softening considerably. Bai Chu's gaze was like a venomous blade, fixated on our entwined fingers. Moments later, a palace attendant brought forth a woman. The woman, disheveled and trembling, knelt on the ground. I bit my lip, my nails digging deeply into my palm. Her name was Siyu. I had seen her outside the study that fateful night when the aftermath was being dealt with. She had claimed she could leave the palace the next day, as her family had already arranged a marriage for her, with her fiancé waiting outside for 10 years. She begged me for her life, promising to leave the capital and never return. In a moment of weakness, I acquiesced. She had once been a lowly maid in the flower room. On the night the late emperor collapsed, she happened to be searching for a silver hairpin lost during the day near the study. Bai Chu gazed at me triumphantly. Now you can tell everyone who you saw in the study that night. She raised her trembling hand, pointing towards the hall. What I saw that night was Rui Wang. Wretched girl. Bai Chu slapped her across the face in front of everyone. How dare you openly lie? Did you not claim you saw the Empress? Siyu, kneeling, pounded her head against the ground until blood began to trickle. The late emperor suspected Rui Wang of having an affair with concubine Xian. In a fit of rage, Rui Wang killed him to cover up the scandal. I swear every word is true. Should any of it be false, may heaven strike me down. Xiao Che stood up abruptly. Third brother, you conspired against our father. And the witness is here. Do you plead guilty? Rui Wang did not respond, laughing maniacally. The ministers exchanged glances, sensing an unusual atmosphere. Suddenly, Rui Wang's laughter ceased, and a glint of cold steel flashed in his hand as Siyu coughed up a mouthful of blood. The princess gasped. In broad daylight, you openly slay a witness. Rui Wang, do you intend to rebel? Rebel? Aunt, your words are rather unpalatable. Do you truly not know how our father died? What benefits has Xiao Che bestowed upon you that you refuse to stand up for your brother? I chuckled coldly within. The late emperor was weak and indulgent, and the people had long voiced their grievances. When foreign enemies invaded, the late emperor had even contemplated marrying off the princess to quell the strife. It was my father who, leading 3,000 iron cavalry, safeguarded the realm of Dayu.
Today,
I wish to ask the emperor if the death of our father bears any relation to you. As soon as the words left my lips, a group of soldiers suddenly surged in, led by the Huai Wang and his elite troops. The women screamed, and chaos erupted within the hall.
Bai Shushu.
Already paralyzed with fear, cowered beneath a table, trembling. I sighed and rose. To preserve the royal dignity, the cause of the late emperor's death was originally intended to remain undisclosed. Since Rui Wang is so eager to know, I shall enlighten him. The late emperor succumbed to sudden illness. Concubine Xian has already been executed, and the Empress Dowager in seclusion at Qingsong Temple, the head of the Imperial Medical Bureau, and the Chancellor can all testify. I spat. Who in the capital does not know that concubine Xian is? His words were cut short as a feathered arrow pierced through the air, embedding itself in his chest. I arrive late to rescue your majesty. I beg for forgiveness. My father, clad in armor, strode into the hall. Within half an hour, Rui Wang's insurrection was quashed, and all his supporters stationed far away were also eradicated. However, the instigator of the palace coup, Bai Chu, fainted at the moment. When she awoke, I revealed the entire truth to her. The hatred that once filled her heart was now replaced with overwhelming regret and despair. She crawled off the bed, prostrating herself towards Yangxin Palace, repeatedly banging her head on the ground. Ache, Chu was wrong. Chu misunderstood you. I should not have been jealous. Nor should I have trusted the slander of treacherous individuals and falsely accused the Empress. I deserve to die 1,000 deaths. I signaled to Shurtsue, who stepped forward to remove the red gemstone and vermilion bracelet from Bai Chu's wrist. Bai Chu's tears halted, looking at me in confusion. It is unwise to keep such things in the cold palace. Better to remove it. In an instant, something exploded in her mind.
Xiaoke.
Bai Chu collapsed to the ground, her suppressed sobs erupting into frenzied howls, her face streaked with tears and snot. On the way back to Fenghuan Palace, Shurtsue quietly reported to me, Lan Pin is due to give birth in a few days. The emperor intends to confer upon her the title of consort. I merely acknowledged with a soft sound. The emperor favors her. As long as she does not create trouble, I willingly support her. After all, I am the Empress of Dayu. The story concludes here. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to our next tale.